Story 1. I take the long-distance train between my hometown and the city about once a month to visit my elderly mother. It's a 6-hour journey, but I actually prefer it to flying because it's more relaxing and I can get work done on my laptop. I'm a freelance graphic designer, so I can work from anywhere as long as I have Wi-Fi and a decent seat. The train route is pretty popular, especially on weekends, so it's usually packed with families, college students, and business travelers like me. Most people are considerate about sharing space, but every now and then you get someone who thinks they own the entire train car. This particular Sunday afternoon, I was heading back to the city after spending the weekend helping my mom with some home repairs. I had my usual seat reservation in coach, and I was looking forward to catching up on some client projects during the trip. The train was almost full when I boarded, which was typical for a Sunday evening. I found my assigned seat and settled in with my laptop bag and a coffee. That's when I noticed the situation developing a few rows ahead of me. This woman had spread her belongings across an entire row of 4 seats. She had multiple designer bags, a yoga mat, some kind of crystal collection, and what looked like aromatherapy supplies scattered everywhere. She was sitting cross-legged in the window seat, waving her hands around like she was conducting an invisible orchestra. The first sign of trouble came when a family with 2 young kids approached her row. The father was holding their seat reservations and looked confused. "Father, excuse me, I think these might be our seats." "Karen, absolutely not. I need this entire row for my spiritual practice." "Mother, but we have reservations for seats 12A through 12D." "Karen, I don't care what your little papers say. I need space for my aura to expand properly." The family looked at each other like they couldn't believe what they were hearing. "Father, ma'am, you can't just take up 4 seats with your bags." "Karen, these aren't just bags. These are sacred crystals and meditation supplies. They require proper spacing." The mother tried a different approach. "Mother, could you maybe just move some of your things so our children can sit down?" "Karen, children have very chaotic energy. They would completely disrupt my spiritual alignment." An elderly gentleman across the aisle overheard and tried to help. "Elderly man, miss, this is coach seating. Everyone's supposed to stick to their assigned seats." "Karen, if you people wanted guaranteed seating, you should have bought first-class tickets." She waved her hand dismissively like she was shooing away flies. "Karen, I'm practicing advanced energy work here. The vibrations need room to flow freely." More passengers were starting to notice the commotion. The family was still standing in the aisle with their luggage, and other people were having trouble getting to their own seats. "College student, lady, you can't hog 4 seats for your crystals." "Karen, don't you dare call them crystals. These are precisely calibrated energy amplifiers." She started arranging her rocks in some kind of pattern across the seats. "Karen, I'm conducting a very important healing session for the entire train car. You should all be thanking me." "Business traveler, we'd thank you more if you moved your stuff so people could sit down." That's when the conductor finally showed up. He'd been working his way through the cars checking tickets and dealing with various passenger issues. "Conductor, what's the problem here, folks?" "Father, this woman has her belongings spread across our assigned seats and won't move them." "Conductor, ma'am, may I see your ticket, please?" "Karen, I have seat 12A. The rest of this row is for my spiritual equipment." "Conductor, your ticket is for 1 seat. You need to move your belongings so other passengers can access their assigned seats." "Karen, you don't understand. I'm performing energy healing work. This benefits everyone on the train." She gestured dramatically at her crystal arrangement. "Karen, my aura needs space to expand properly. Cramped conditions would completely disrupt the healing frequencies." "Conductor, ma'am, you need to consolidate your belongings to your assigned seat immediately." "Karen, I refuse. I paid good money for this ticket, and I deserve proper space for my practice." "Conductor, you paid for 1 seat, not 4. Move your items now or I'll have to relocate you." "Karen, relocate me where? This is coach. There are no other seats. Conductor, there's standing room in the vestibule between cars. The entire car went silent. Everyone was staring at this standoff between the conductor and the crystal lady. Karen, you can't make me stand for 6 hours. That's inhumane. Conductor, you can either move your belongings to your assigned seat or stand. Those are your options. Karen, this is discrimination against spiritual practitioners. I'm being persecuted for my beliefs. Conductor, ma'am, this is your final warning. Consolidate to one seat or move to the vestibule. Karen, fine. But when everyone on this train gets sick from bad energy, don't blame me. She started gathering her crystals and bags with exaggerated huffing and sighing. Karen, you people have no appreciation for the healing work I was doing for free. Conductor, the vestibule is this way. Ma'am. Karen, I'm not standing for 6 hours because of your ignorance. Conductor, then please move your belongings to your assigned seat only. Karen, my aura can't be compressed into one tiny seat. This is spiritual abuse. The conductor remained completely professional while Karen continued her dramatic protests. Conductor, vestibule or one seat. Choose now. Karen, this is the worst customer service I've ever experienced. I'm reporting all of you. She grabbed her crystal collection and headed toward the front of the car. Karen, when this train derails from negative energy, remember that I tried to help. As she stomped toward the vestibule with her bags and yoga mat, the entire car erupted in applause. Kids were cheering, adults were clapping, and someone actually whistled. Random passenger, finally, peace and quiet. Another person, thanks for clearing out the bad energy. The family with the reservations quickly took their seats, and normal train atmosphere resumed. For the rest of the trip, whenever someone walked past the vestibule, they'd report back that Karen was still standing there with her crystals, muttering about spiritual persecution. The conductor became a hero that day. Multiple passengers thanked him personally, and someone started a group selfie with him that got passed around the entire car. 6 hours later, when we pulled into the city station, Karen was the first one off the train, still complaining loudly about how her healing session had been interrupted by ignorant people. Story 2. I work security for Red River Music Festival, a small-town event that happens every summer in our downtown park. It's nothing huge, maybe 2,000 people over 3 days, but it's become pretty popular with both local bands and touring acts. I've been doing this job for 5 years now, ever since I got out of the army and needed something that let me work outdoors and listen to good music. Most of the time, security work at music festivals is pretty routine. You check IDs, make sure people aren't sneaking in alcohol, and occasionally deal with someone who's had too much to drink. The headliner that Saturday night was a folk rock band called Mountain Echo. They'd been touring for about 10 years and had a decent following. Nothing mainstream, but they put on a great show and the crowd was really into it. About 300 people were gathered in front of the main stage, singing along to songs they knew and discovering new ones. I was positioned stage left, keeping an eye on the crowd and making sure nobody tried to climb up. The band was about halfway through their set, playing this beautiful acoustic ballad that had everyone swaying and singing softly. It was one of those perfect festival moments where the music, the weather, and the crowd all came together perfectly. Then I saw her pushing through the crowd toward the stage. She wasn't walking like someone trying to get closer to enjoy the show. She had that determined, angry stride that meant trouble. Before I could intercept her, she grabbed onto the edge of the stage and hoisted herself up. The band kept playing for a few seconds, probably thinking she was just an overly enthusiastic fan who would hop back down. Karen, excuse me. She marched right up to the lead singer, who stopped mid-verse and stared at her in complete confusion. Karen, I need to interrupt this performance because I have a much better song to sing. Lead singer, what? Karen, your music is boring, and these people deserve to hear something with actual talent. The other band members stopped playing one by one until the whole stage was silent, except for Karen's voice. Karen, I've been a professional singer for 20 years, and I can show everyone what real music sounds like." She grabbed the microphone right out of the lead singer's hands and started wailing into it. I mean literally wailing, some kind of off-key opera style, singing that sounded like a cat being strangled. The crowd went from confused murmuring to outright laughter. People were pulling out their phones to record this train wreck. I jumped onto the stage and started walking toward her, but she saw me coming and moved closer to the center of the stage, still singing whatever she thought was beautiful music. "Karen, don't you dare interrupt a professional performance." She was belting out what sounded like a mangled version of some Broadway song, while the band members looked at each other like they couldn't believe this was actually happening. "Ma'am, you need to get off the stage right now." "Karen, I'm in the middle of a song. Show some respect for the arts." The sound engineer must have been watching from the booth, because suddenly the microphone went dead. Karen kept singing into the silent mic, completely unaware that no one could hear her anymore. The crowd was cracking up. People were cheering and laughing as she continued her silent performance, gesturing dramatically like she was still commanding the attention of the entire festival. "Ma'am, the microphone is off and you're trespassing. Come with me." "Karen, the microphone isn't off. You people just don't appreciate good music when you hear it." She kept singing while I gently but firmly guided her toward the steps at the side of the stage. 2 other security guards came up to help escort her down. "Karen, this is censorship. You're silencing a true artist." As we walked her off the stage, the lead singer of Mountain Echo picked up his guitar and stepped back to the microphone. Lead singer, well folks, that was something. Thanks for that impromptu performance, Karen. The crowd burst into applause and laughter. Someone in the audience shouted back something about karaoke night, and the whole festival erupted in good-natured laughter. Lead singer. Now, where were we before we got that special guest appearance? The band picked up right where they'd left off in their ballad, like nothing had happened. The crowd sang along even louder than before, probably energized by the bizarre interruption they'd all witnessed together. We escorted Karen to the festival exit, where she continued complaining about how no one appreciated real talent and how the music industry was rigged against true artists. "Karen, that band has no business being on stage when there are people like me with actual training and experience." Security supervisor. "Ma'am, you're banned from the festival for the remainder of the weekend. If you return, you'll be arrested for trespassing." Karen. "Fine, I didn't want to be around these tone-deaf people anyway." She stormed off into the night, still muttering about her superior musical abilities. The festival staff couldn't stop talking about it for the rest of the weekend. Mountain Echo even referenced it during their next song, joking about how they'd never had such an interesting duet partner before. Later that night, someone posted a video of Karen's silent singing performance online, and it went viral locally. The festival's social media accounts got flooded with people asking if Karen's karaoke hour was going to be a regular feature. Mountain Echo finished their set to the biggest applause I'd ever heard at the festival. Sometimes the best performances are the ones nobody plans. Story 3. I've been working at Thunder Mountain Theme Park for 4 years now, starting as a summer job during high school and staying on after graduation. What began as a way to earn spending money became a career I actually enjoy. I work various rides throughout the park, but my favorite assignment is the Thunderstrike roller coaster, our biggest and most popular attraction. The job requires patience and crowd management skills since Thunderstrike often has the longest lines in the park. During peak season, wait times can reach 3 hours, but most guests understand this and plan accordingly. My role is to keep the line moving safely, help guests understand height requirements, and ensure everyone follows park rules. After 4 years, I've seen every type of difficult customer imaginable, but some still surprise me. It was a Saturday in July, one of our busiest days of the year. The temperature was pushing 90 degrees, and Thunderstrike had a 2-hour wait. I was stationed at the ride entrance, checking height requirements and managing the queue when I noticed a commotion about halfway back in the line. This woman was pushing through the crowd with two kids in tow, roughly ages 10 and 12. People were stepping aside, confused about what was happening. She wasn't stopping to explain herself, just bulldozing forward like she owned the place. Guest 1. Hey, excuse me. There's a line here. Karen, family always comes first. We have children. Guest 2. We all have children. That's why we're waiting in line. Karen ignored them and kept pushing forward. By the time she reached me at the ride entrance, dozens of people were staring and several were openly complaining. Me, ma'am, I'm going to need you to go to the back of the line. Karen, we're not waiting 2 hours. My children need to ride this now. Me, everyone in line has been waiting. The posted wait time is currently 2 hours. Karen, that's discrimination against families with children. Me, ma'am, most people in line have children with them. Everyone waits the same amount of time. I looked at her kids, who seemed embarrassed by their mother's behavior. Other guests in the actual line were getting increasingly annoyed. Karen, my children have special needs. We can't wait in long lines. Me, if you have accessibility concerns, you can visit guest services for a disability access pass. But you'll still need to wait your turn. Karen, I don't need a pass. I need you to let us ride right now. Me, that's not possible. You need to go to the back of the line like everyone else. She looked at the long line of people behind me, then back at me with growing anger. Karen, this is ridiculous. We paid the same admission as everyone else. Me? Yes, and so did they. That's why they're all waiting patiently. Karen, I'm not moving. My children are riding this roller coaster next. She crossed her arms and planted herself directly in front of the ride entrance. This was blocking access for the guests who had actually waited in line. Me, ma'am, you're blocking the entrance for people who've been waiting. I need you to move. Karen, then let us ride. Me, I'm calling security. Karen, good, call them. They'll see how you're discriminating against my family. I radioed for security while she continued her tantrum. Her kids were tugging at her arms, clearly mortified. Kid 1. Mom, can we please just go wait in line? Karen, no, this man is being unreasonable. Kid 2. Everyone is staring at us. This is embarrassing. Karen, I'm fighting for your rights. 2 security officers arrived within 5 minutes. The line had backed up because Karen was still blocking the entrance, and at least 50 people were watching the situation unfold. Security Officer 1. Ma'am, what's the problem here? Karen, this ride operator won't let my children ride. It's discrimination. Me, she cut to the front of a 2-hour line and refuses to wait her turn like everyone else. Security Officer 2. Ma'am, you can't skip the line. You need to wait like everyone else. Karen, that's outrageous. Family always comes first. Security Officer 1. Not in line for rides. Everyone waits equally. The security officers tried reasoning with her for several more minutes, but she refused to budge. Other guests were getting restless, and the backup was affecting the entire ride operation. Security Officer 2. Ma'am, if you don't go to the back of the line, we'll have to escort you out of the park. Karen, you can't kick out a paying customer. Security Officer 1. We can and will if you continue disrupting park operations. Karen, this is America. I have rights. Security Officer 2. You have the right to wait in line like everyone else or leave the park. When she still refused to move, both officers took her by the arms and began escorting her toward the park exit. Her kids followed behind, crying and apologizing to people they passed. Kid 1. I'm sorry. We're really sorry. Kid 2. She's not usually like this. As the security officers walked Karen toward the main gates, something amazing happened. The guests who had been waiting in line started clapping. It started with just a few people near the front, but quickly spread back through the entire queue. The applause grew louder as Karen disappeared from view, and several people cheered when the park gates finally closed behind her. Her kids were still crying, but at least they were away from the embarrassing situation their mother had created. Guest 3. Thank you for handling that properly. Me, just doing my job. Sorry for the delay, folks. Guest 4. Worth it to see justice served. The line started moving again, and within 10 minutes we were back to normal operations. Several guests thanked me throughout the day for not giving in to Karen's demands. Sometimes standing firm on the rules is exactly what everyone needs to see. Story 4. I work part-time for a funeral home while finishing my degree in mortuary science. It's not the career path most people would choose, but I find meaning in helping families during their most difficult moments. The pay helps with tuition, and the experience is invaluable for someone planning to make this their profession. I've been working here for about 18 months, starting as general support staff and gradually taking on more responsibilities. My duties include setting up for services, helping with logistics, and providing comfort to grieving families. The funeral director has been mentoring me, teaching me about the delicate balance of professionalism and compassion required in this field. This particular Tuesday, we were handling the service for an elderly woman who had passed away after a long illness. Her family had requested a small, intimate ceremony in our chapel followed by a graveside service. About 30 people attended, mostly family members and close friends. Her daughter had flown in from across the country, and her grandchildren were taking time off from college to be there. The chapel service went beautifully. The pastor spoke about the deceased woman's dedication to her family and community work. Several relatives shared touching memories about her kindness and strength. There wasn't a dry eye in the room, but it was the kind of sadness mixed with celebration of a life well lived. After the chapel service, we processed to the cemetery for the burial. It was one of those peaceful October afternoons, with golden leaves falling and a gentle breeze. The cemetery is beautiful, with old oak trees and well-maintained grounds. Families often comment on how serene it feels, which brings them some comfort during such a difficult time. I was helping arrange the chairs around the gravesite when this woman appeared out of nowhere. She was dressed in casual clothes, carrying a professional camera with a large lens, and had an impatient expression on her face. She walked right up to the family members who were still getting seated and started talking in a loud voice. "Karen, excuse me, how much longer is this going to take? I have a photo shoot scheduled here at 2 o'clock. The deceased woman's daughter looked confused and upset. She was already emotional from the service, and this interruption seemed to catch her completely off guard. "Daughter, I'm sorry, what?" "Karen, I booked this area for a photography session. You all need to wrap this up so I can get started." I immediately stepped forward. In all my time working funerals, I'd never encountered anything like this. "Ma'am, this is a private funeral service. The family has reserved this area for their ceremony." "Karen, well, nobody told me about that. I scheduled this location weeks ago for an engagement photo shoot." The funeral director came over, looking professional but firm. "Funeral director, ma'am, funeral services take priority over other activities in the cemetery. I'm going to need you to wait until we're finished or reschedule your appointment." "Karen, that's completely unacceptable. I have paying clients coming, and we've been planning this for months." Her voice was getting louder, and I could see the family members looking shocked and upset. The grandchildren were staring in disbelief. The pastor paused in his preparations, clearly unsure how to handle this disruption. "Karen, this is a public cemetery. I have just as much right to be here as anyone else." Funeral director, while the cemetery is publicly accessible, we have permits for this service. You need to move to a different area. "Karen, I refuse to be discriminated against. This is freedom of public space. You can't tell me where I can and can't take photos." The deceased woman's son stood up from his chair, looking angry. "Son, this is our mother's funeral. Can you please show some respect?" "Karen, your mother is dead. She doesn't need the space anymore. My clients are alive and paying me for this location." Several family members gasped. The daughter started crying harder. This was turning into exactly the kind of scene that makes funeral work so challenging. The funeral director immediately signaled to the cemetery staff, who called security. Within minutes, 2 security officers arrived. Security officer: "Ma'am, you're disrupting a funeral service. You need to leave this area immediately." Karen: "I'm not going anywhere. I have rights." Security officer: "You can either move voluntarily or we'll escort you off the property." Karen: "This is harassment. I'm being persecuted for trying to run a business." The security officers took her by the arms and walked her away from the gravesite, her voice echoing across the cemetery as she continued protesting about her rights and threatening to call lawyers. Once she was gone, the pastor stepped forward and addressed the family with remarkable composure. "Pastor, I apologize for that interruption. Some people have lost sight of basic human decency. Let's take a moment to refocus on why we're here to honor your mother's memory and celebrate the love she shared with all of you." The family nodded gratefully, wiping away tears that were now from both grief and shock. We continued with the service, and it concluded peacefully. As people were leaving, several attendees came up to thank us for handling the situation professionally. The daughter hugged me and said she was grateful we protected her mother's final ceremony from further disruption. Later, the funeral director told me that in 30 years of doing this work, he'd never seen anything quite that callous. Sometimes this job reminds you that not everyone understands the sacredness of saying goodbye. Story 5. I've been managing the city ice rink for about 5 years now. It's a busy facility that serves everyone from professional figure skaters to families just learning to skate. We host birthday parties, hockey leagues, skating lessons, and public skating sessions throughout the week. The schedule is carefully coordinated to make sure everyone gets their fair share of ice time. The rink operates on a strict reservation system. Different groups rent ice time slots for practices, games, and lessons. We have clear posted schedules showing when the ice is available for public skating versus when it's reserved for specific activities. This system works well because it lets serious athletes train while still providing recreational opportunities for casual skaters. I started working here after playing hockey in college. I love being around the sport and helping kids develop their skills. Some of our youth hockey players have gone on to play at the high school and even college level. The coaches take their practice time seriously because ice time is expensive and limited. Last Saturday afternoon, the Mite League team had reserved the rink from 2 to 3 p.m. for practice. These are kids aged 6 to 8, just learning the basics of hockey. About 15 kids were on the ice with their coach, working on stopping and turning drills. Parents were watching from the stands, and everything was running smoothly. Around 2:30, this woman showed up at the rental counter demanding skates. She seemed agitated from the moment she walked in. "Karen, I need skates right now. Size 8. Staff member: "Sure, but just so you know, we have a hockey practice going on until 3. Public skating starts at 3:30. "Karen, that's fine. The ice is public property." Staff member: "Well, actually this time slot is reserved for the hockey team. You'll need to wait about 30 minutes. Karen: "I don't care about some kids playing hockey. I pay taxes and I have a right to use this facility." I was in my office, but could hear her getting louder through the glass partition. I walked out to see what was happening. Me: "Hi, I'm the manager. Is there a problem?" Karen: "Yes, your employee is trying to tell me I can't skate on public ice." Me: "The ice is reserved for hockey practice right now. Public skating begins at 3:30, and you're welcome to skate then." Karen: "This is a public facility, and I'm going skating now." Me: "Ma'am, we operate on a reservation system. The hockey team paid for this ice time." She ignored me completely, grabbed the rental skates, and started putting them on. I could tell this wasn't going to end well. Me: "If you go on that ice during practice time, I'll have to ask security to remove you." Karen: "Try it. I know my rights." She finished lacing up the skates and headed straight for the ice. I followed her, trying to reason with her, but she pushed through the gate and skated right into the middle of the hockey practice. The coach immediately blew his whistle to stop the drill. 15 little kids in hockey gear came to a halt, confused about why some adult was skating through their practice area. Coach, ma'am, you can't be out here right now. This is a closed practice. Karen, the ice belongs to everyone. These kids don't own it. Coach, please leave the ice immediately. You're disrupting our practice and creating a safety hazard. Karen, I'm not going anywhere. This is public property. The parents in the stands were getting upset. Their kids only got 1 hour of practice time per week, and this woman was wasting it with her tantrum. Parent 1, lady, get off the ice. Our kids are trying to practice. Parent 2, you're being ridiculous. Just wait your turn. Karen turned toward the stands and started yelling back at the parents. Karen, don't tell me what to do. I have every right to be here. She was waving her arms around dramatically while yelling, clearly not paying attention to her balance on the ice. The coach was trying to keep the kids away from her, worried someone might get hurt. Coach, kids, please move to the far end of the rink while we handle this situation. Karen, you can't make me leave. This is discrimination against adults. That's when it happened. She was gesticulating so wildly while yelling that she completely lost her balance. Her rental skates, which weren't properly tightened anyway, slipped right out from under her. She went down hard, landing flat on her back with a loud thud that echoed through the rink. The entire stands erupted in cheers and applause. Kids were giggling and parents were clapping. Even some of the young hockey players were laughing behind their face masks. Parent 3, that's what you get for being so selfish. Parent 4, maybe now she'll listen to reason. Karen was lying on the ice, clearly winded and embarrassed. Her face was turning bright red, partly from the cold ice and partly from humiliation. Me, ma'am, are you hurt? Do you need medical attention? Karen, get away from me. This is all your fault. Security arrived just as she was trying to get back on her feet. The rental skates were loose, and she kept slipping as she tried to stand up. Security officer, ma'am, you need to leave the ice immediately. Karen, I'm not leaving. I have rights. Security officer, you're trespassing on reserved ice time. Let me help you to the exit. It took both security officers to help her wobble off the ice. She could barely stay upright in the rental skates and had to hold onto the boards for support. Her dramatic exit was even more entertaining than her fall. Karen, this is harassment. I'm calling my lawyer. Parent 5, good luck with that lawsuit. Lady, once she was finally off the ice, the coach gathered the kids back together, and they finished their practice. The whole incident had only taken about 10 minutes, but it became legendary at our rink. After the session ended, several parents came up to thank me for handling the situation properly. Grateful parent, thank you for protecting our kids' practice time. That woman was completely out of line. Coach, I've been coaching for 15 years, and I've never seen anything like that. You handled it perfectly. The story spread quickly through the local hockey community. Other rinks in the area heard about it and started being more vigilant about enforcing their reservation policies. The best part came later that week when one of the parents made a highlight reel video of Karen's fall and set it to comedy music. It went viral in our local social media groups under the hashtag #IceRinkKaren. We never saw her again, but the incident became a perfect example of why rules and schedules exist at public facilities.